Zoom's end, not ours, fortunately. So hello, my name's Susie Calder and I'm your webinar host for today. Hooray! Thank you for joining me. We also have Amelia on board. Amelia, say hi.
Hiya. Oh God, hello, morning.
Amelia will be around to help me make sure that we answer any questions that you guys have got. So welcome to the Spark webinar. Please say hello in the chat box so I know that you can hear me and see the screen. You should all be muted with cameras off. I'll be asking you to do things like raise your hands at various points in the webinar. And we will be circulating the slides of this presentation after the webinar, and also a list of links to resources. So that will be coming in. So brilliant! We can see that people are working. Yes, morning everybody. So and I said, Jeff, well done. Raise your hand already. Fantastic, brilliant. So let's get on to the presentation then. The webinar. So COVID-19, it's the situation's all still a bit new. We're all still making up a bit as we go along in terms of systems and support being put in place. Every community is different, so all of the groups that we're working with are doing things a bit differently, but there's still lots that we can all learn from each other. Today is a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. It's not going to be massively in-depth, and the point is to show you some of the online tools that can help you organise your group in response to the COVID-19 stuff. A lot of this stuff actually applies generally for groups as well, but I have curated some of the stuff that is out there. It's a very small portion of the stuff that's out there, but it is, so some of them you will know already, some of them you might not know already. I'm not going to teach you how to use them. If you need somebody to talk you through how to use some of these things, do come and talk to us. We may not be able to help you exactly ourselves, but we do know the people to put you in touch with. Okay, so often when we start a new project, we're full of the need to get things done. Everything is urgency, and I know that the community response to the pandemic has been really quick. It was urgent and it was really overwhelming. What it can mean though is that we don't necessarily use the tools that are right for the job. We pick what's nearest, what we're already comfortable with, or what somebody else has suggested. So it's very possible that you're using some stuff that you've just made work. And I think that all of the community groups responding to the pandemic are doing a really great job under fairly trying circumstances. We don't know how long lockdown's going to last, but it does feel a bit calmer now than the initial few weeks. So now's probably a good time to take a bit of a breath and see if we can make things easier for ourselves. And hopefully today will allow that to happen. Okay, so before we get to the actual tools themselves, oops, my slide's not working, bear with. There we go. Before we get to the actual tools themselves, let's have a look at some of the main things to consider when we start thinking about what tools might be useful. So I'm going to very briefly talk data protection. It's one of my favourite topics, yay! There is some great guidance from the Information Commissioner's Office about data protection. If you've been on one of my webinars before, you have possibly heard me talk about it already, and I'll include the link to this really good guidance with the slides, so don't worry about that too much. Data protection law doesn't prevent you from doing the things you need to do to support people and keep them safe, but it does give you a framework to make that happen. That's because people's information is important and you have a responsibility to look after it. So when you're thinking about what tools to use with people's information, you should be thinking about how it looks after the data. How many people have got access to the information? Is it secure? Who can change the information? Can it be changed or deleted by accident? One of the things there is that, can it be changed or deleted by accident? That's a really big thing, and it's a thing that people often forget when we're working in groups. So things like Excel spreadsheets, actually really easy to change, and that makes them really great for lots of things and really terrible for some things. I was working on a community project a couple of months ago, or before all of this started, and we set up a brand new website. It was fantastic. We went live, and then one of our group deleted it by accident because we hadn't put the right controls in place. So we just launched, we'd got 200 people signed up, and then we managed to delete our website, and we had to start from scratch because yes, we hadn't backed up all of our data. So that, learn from my mistakes. So think about how data can be changed or deleted by accident when you're working with tools. So there are quite a few groups using spreadsheets, and like I say, that by itself isn't a problem, but it's the way that you're sharing those spreadsheets could be an issue. So you might find that people change information. It might be done by accident, or it might be difficult to get previous information back. Also, people are sharing spreadsheets in a way that might not be massively secure. So if you share it using a link, anyone using that link can access the spreadsheet, and you don't necessarily know who's using the spreadsheet, and you can't block people. And that might not be an issue. Again, you might have a small enough group of people who've got the link, and that might be fine. So there are often ways you can work around these issues, but you need to think about them. So how safe and secure are our tools that we're using? Ease of use and setup. Now, it can be very tempting to use the newest, shiniest thing that you've been told about, and then spend forever figuring out how to make it work, or playing with the non-essential bits that are possibly a bit more entertaining. So it's worth spending a little time before delving into something, to take a step back and decide what you need your tools to do. What are the basics? What are the must-haves? And then what are the nice-to-haves? And spend a little time playing with the tool to see if it does what you need it to do, and does it do that bit easily. If it doesn't do what you need it to do fairly quickly, move on to something else. And sometimes new technology can seem a little bit daunting, but the good technology around is very user intuitive nowadays. So actually there's quite a lot of tools out there that are very easy to use straight out of the box, and so it's worth having a chat to other people about their experience with bits and pieces. The cost, this probably goes without saying, but most community groups don't have money to spend on expensive software. Most of the stuff I'm going to show you is free. Be aware that there might be some features that you might have to pay for. When I'm working with a new tool, I always check the pricing structures before I play with it, so that I don't get sucked into it unknowingly. And often a free account will have some very basic stuff, but then all the bits you actually want have to be paid for. So if you can find that out before you start playing with it, it will save you a lot of time and anguish, frankly. But there are lots of free resources around, so it's good to kind of have a good look around. Now, the legacy stuff. What do I mean about legacy? In the context of this is the legacy of what's happening next, what happens after lockdown finishes. So what are we doing at the end? At some point, lockdown will end. What happens then? What will happen to all the information that you've gathered and used? Are you going to be carrying on with your group in some kind of community activity or other capacity, or is it going to fold? If it folds, who's going to look after the tools and information, and what will they do with them? If it doesn't fold, how do you pass those on? So things to think about when you're looking at online tools particularly. So I'm going to cover some tools in 5 main areas. is there's 4 on this slide. So I'm going to, oops, it's not moved on, my apologies. 4 on this slide, there we go. So communications, that's internal communications. Marketing, for want of a better word. It sounds a bit weird to talk about marketing when we're talking about the activity of community response groups, but it is telling people about what we're trying to do, how we're sharing and storing information, and then a little bit about money. And then the one that's not on this slide is I'm going to talk a little bit about time and skill matching. So let's just go and have a look at some of those tools. So the first one is Zoom. So this is in terms of internal communications. So we're using it for webinars, but you've probably heard lots and lots of people using Zoom all over the shop. It's massively popular at the moment. It is, you can have a free account, and it will let you run meetings for free for 40 minutes. It's pretty easy to use, and you don't have to use the video functions if you don't want to, so you can use it just for voice meetings if you like. So the web, as you can see with this webinar, I'm not using the video feature on it, so there's no screen of me smiling and waving at you, mainly because I don't really like myself on video. But others, particularly in meetings, it's really good to be able to see people's faces, and that feels like a much better human kind of contact. We use it a lot internally. There are other video conferencing things out there. Google Meet is being rolled out fairly soon, probably in the next week, 2 weeks or so, and will be free, but you do need a Gmail account to use that. Okay, so like I say, there's loads of features with these, but a lot of them you have to pay for, but the basic meeting stuff is free, certainly within Zoom. So I want to talk about chat apps. This is about communicating it within your group, either if you've got a committee or with volunteers. And so being able to communicate quickly with people is quite important. And so email doesn't always cut the mustard. Oh, so somebody's just asked what we need a Gmail account for. That's if you want to use Google Meet. So Google Meet is rolling out in the next week or so. And it's going to be free. So that's another video conferencing thing. You can use Google Meet now, but you have to pay for it. But I say it's rolling out shortly. So then there's WhatsApp, is one of the chat ones I wanted to talk about briefly. It's free to use. It does have a desktop app, so you can download it onto your laptop or your PC. So if you're wanting to put out a message, a fairly long message to people, and also you need some details from a file, you can copy and paste it straight across into your desktop app. So that could be quite a useful thing to do. So the other thing about WhatsApp is lots of people already have it, and they use it for all kinds of things. And again, it's pretty easy to use once it's installed on your phone. So lots of volunteer groups are finding that WhatsApp is a really easy way of communicating with people. This is possibly one you've not heard of yourselves. This is an app called Halo, and it kind of connects communities to each other. So I'm just going to scroll down through their website slightly. So here in Somerset, there's already a few groups using it, as you can see. And what it does is it kind of allows people to chat to each other, but in a localized kind of way. So and they will set it up for you, so you can have a private volunteers group as well. So there's they've got some more information here about how Halo works. And like I say, we'll send you a We'll send you a link to that if you want to look for more information. But the police volunteers are using Halo, so it's pretty secure. And unlike WhatsApp, I think one of the better things about Halo rather than WhatsApp is it doesn't show people's telephone numbers, so people feel a bit more secure about Halo. So there are lots of other chat apps out there, video conferencing things like Skype, Facebook messaging, and stuff like that. So there's lots and lots of those. I'm not going to show you Facebook. Hopefully most of you know what Facebook is. So in terms of our marketing stuff, actually most of the COVID response groups are using Facebook already, and they're using it to tell people about what's going on. So they so that's in externally, and some of them are also using it for internal comms. So they've got like closed Facebook groups. Is there anybody not using Facebook at the moment? Can you raise your hand if you're not using Facebook? There are no hands being raised. Right, okay. So it's probably really likely that everybody is using Facebook. So like I say, I don't think there's much point in me showing you how Facebook kind of works. So in terms of the other marketing kind of apps out there, there's all the usual social media and stuff, but I wanted to show you Canva. So some of you may already know Canva, but Canva is a design app, and it lets you design things really quickly and easily. It's got lots and lots of graphics. It's got lots and lots of suggestions. You can set up a free account, so you can use it for free. It has got quite a few COVID resources on it already. It makes things look pretty really easily. And like I said, actually the interface is pretty intuitive. I say I'm not going to show you how to use it, but I recommend that you sign up for an account and have a little bit of a play with it. And if you need to produce anything for your Facebook page, or you're doing leaflets or flyers, then Canva is really good to do that kind of stuff. Okay. Then I want to move on to the sharing and storing. I'm just aware that we're starting to get close on time because I think we started a bit late. So Dropbox is free and you can get 2 GB of storage there. It's also GDPR compliant, and an alternative to that is Google Drive. I'm not going to show you that at the moment, but again, Google Drive. And again, that's free, and you can get a certain amount of storage for free on that too. Both Google Drive and Dropbox are GDPR compliant at the moment, so that's quite useful. So then I wanted to just very quickly talk about money. So lots of groups are tracking their money using spreadsheets, and again, that's absolutely fine and might be entirely appropriate. I'm not going to suggest that people start using accounting software for running a local group, because I think that's probably overkill unless you've already got access to that software already. There is a way of operating without having a bank account, using an online platform called fiscal hosting through the Social Change Agency. Again, the link to that will be on the resource that we'll send out with this. So if a bank account is a barrier to you guys, then fiscal hosting is a really good option. And then very briefly, I wanted to just touch on online fundraising. So there's two main platforms that I tend to point people to, and that's Just Giving and GoFundMe. And the reason for those two is that they don't have any upfront fees. They do charge percentage fees on the transactions, but organizations get they get pretty big slice of the money. The transaction fees tend to be fairly minimal. So I think those kinds of things are quite useful. Okay, so does anybody have any questions at this point before I move on to the next stuff? It's all very quiet. Yeah, so the fiscal hosting, good question, thank you. So the fiscal hosting allows groups to manage their incoming and outgoing funds. It allows a volunteer to say, these are my expenses. It also allows you to pay for things like shopping from the account and stuff like that. And yes, you can put grant payments into it and so on. Is it accredited anyway? Well, the Social Change Agency is a well-known organisation and is funded by some very large funders. The platform is free to use. So in terms of credibility, I believe that it has good credibility. It's and I do think that it has it's covered by do you know what? I don't know the answer to all of the questions that you've asked, Hel. So what I will do, so the question that has been asked is it accredited anyway? And is the money in there covered? Let me come back to you with those answers to those specific questions rather than just try and figure those out now. Is that okay? So, okay, if there's no other questions on the thing so far, I want to move on to, oops. Bear with me while I just go back to my slide. There we go. So I just want to move on to the next one, which is about time and skill matching. So lots of groups, again, are using spreadsheets, and if spreadsheets are working for you, fantastic. We are hosting Corona Helpers. I think most of you know that already. Can everyone who's using Corona Helpers raise their hands for me? There's a few people. So not everybody's using it, but there's a few people using it. Okay, great, thank you. So if you're not using Corona Helpers already, predominantly Corona Helpers is a platform for volunteer recruitment. So let me just show you what Corona Helpers looks like. So Corona Helpers looks like this. Well, it looks like this. So this is the front page for Corona Helpers, and it predominantly it's a way of recruiting volunteers, but it does allow you to manage volunteers slightly as well. I don't have enough time to go into the detail of how that works right now, but if you would like a one-to-one tutorial about how you can make Corona Helpers work for you, we are offering those, so do get in touch with us about that. Okay. What I do want to show you is that I've got two other things I want to show you that I think will help in terms of scheduling volunteers, about giving them specific jobs. So Corona Helpers can do that a bit, but it's not really designed to set up to do that. So there is a free app called When I Work, well, free software called When I Work. It is aimed at employers, but you can make it work for volunteering. It's free for up to 75 people, so it is worth having a look at. So it's called When I Work. So the other thing that I wanted to very quickly show you in terms of the skills and time matching is something called local helpers. So there have been quite a few services launched aimed at helping with online matching of tools and stuff, and a lot of them have focused on recruiting volunteers, but the actual job matching hasn't happened so much. Whereas local helpers, what they can do is they can upload all of your volunteer information for you. So if you've got a spreadsheet of all of your volunteers, or you've holding it in another way, they can upload that all for you in one go, and then they can help you. Well, the software can help you match individuals to jobs, so as you request for help come in. This is just one of the screens that kind of shows you a bit. They've got on this one, there's 14 people looking for help. There's 13 warnings because one is late. I think a couple are late and other ones haven't got people assigned to them and things like that. But what you can see on this slide is that it shows you where all your volunteers are on a map, so you can see who your nearest volunteers to something are, and you can assign people to it like that. And then, unlike a spreadsheet, historic data doesn't disappear. It's journaled, so that you can't delete something accidentally. You can change information, but you can't delete it, so you can always go back and have a look at something. So again, if you want more information about local helpers, do come and ask us, and we can talk to you about that. So I'm aware that I'm at my half an hour already. So who can change? Just the admin. So you can decide who has what permissions within local helpers. So there's different levels. So your individual volunteers can't change information, and they would just be given the information of the specific job that they're assigned to. And you can have as many admins as you feel is necessary for your group. So the admins would add the jobs and change, update information and things like that. Does that make sense? I hope so. Are there any other questions? Oh, okay. Like I say, we'll send out the slides and a list of all of the links to the resources that I've talked about. So our contact details are here. Has anyone used Rally Round? So Rally Round has been mentioned previously by us. Rally Round is an online tool. It was created with families in mind. So what Rally Round does is like operate as a small group electronically, so it's in the cloud, and people sign up to it, and in your small group it's like a little group messaging thing, and you can put up dates and events and all things like that. The problem is it shares all the data with everybody. So Rally Round is brilliant for small groups where data sharing is not an issue. Where you've got vulnerable people, then the data sharing may be more problematic. There may be workarounds to that, but I don't know them. So like I say, Rally Round was really aimed at friends and family, so people who already know each other. That's the real key to that. Okay, so I've gone over my time. I'm sorry, I always manage to do that. Please do get in touch with us. Our contact details are on the screen. The webinar recording will be up as soon as we get it to. We will send you slides and a link to all the resources. Thank you ever so much. Penny has just reminded me to let you know that we are talking with Cosmic at the moment. They're a digital organisation who train people up in the ways of the marvelous digital world, and we are looking at putting on some specific training sessions for groups around social media, online selling of services and things like that. So we'll put that information on our website when it's all been agreed and put in place. Okay, so thank you ever so much for coming today, guys, and we hope to see you all again soon.